Hello guys, and welcome to Bahrain for another edition of this F1 2014 100% race career mode of mine. And we are getting ready for the first qualifying session here. We're going to be fitting a new set of option tires that we are going to be due preferably just one lap on, two at the most, and hopefully that will get us into Q2. If we can't do a decent time, that'll get us into Q2 within 2 laps. We are just going to take wherever the chips fall and start wherever that means we're going to be ending up on the grid here. However, it shouldn't be a problem just to get into Q2. 132.898, that should be enough to get us into Q2, so we just basically slow down a little bit here and take it into the pits, and we'll see what happens. And as you can see, that is enough to put us into first place in the first qualifying session, and while that doesn't mean the world, it's certainly a good sign of our pace and perhaps things to come here. Anyway, jumping straight to our lap here, we are out on the prime tire, as we like to start the race on that particular tire here. We do a 133.198, which is definitely not bad on the prime tire. We'll see where that takes us. Second in Q2 behind Lewis Hamilton, and we are through to the shootout without any hassle whatsoever. And Jenson Button again does not qualify for the shootout and has to be said to be underperforming thus far this season. Q3, our first lap here coming up, 132.628. That's our fastest time of the weekend, though I feel that we have a slightly better lap left in us here. And as you can see, we are still in a temporary first here with Rosberg in second and Ricciardo in third. And we'll see where this lap takes us. 132.692. We do not manage to improve on it, so we just pull over to the side here and decide that that's enough for today. And as you can see, that's enough for second on the grid. Nico Rosberg is on pole, Daniel Ricciardo is third, Lewis Hamilton is down in fourth. And just messing around with the pit strategy here, we are starting on the prime tire. We'll be doing 24 laps on those, and we'll be doing our middle and final stints on the option tire, hopefully giving us that extra pace that we may need in crunch time. Here we are ready on the grid for the start. As you can see, Rosberg is immediately ahead of us. Ricciardo is behind us. And we have the inside line heading into turn 1, and that should be an advantage. We do not get the greatest start in the world there, neither does Rosberg. However, Ricciardo just comes flying out of the gate and is into second position behind Rosberg. And we're going to see if we can't dive down the inside of the two cars there. We almost run Rosberg wide there, and he has to go take a very wide line to recover there, and we squeeze down the inside of him, almost coming out neck and neck here through the corner. But we come out in front and are in first position here at Bahrain. And as you can see on the mini track there's a bit of a gap behind Rosberg down to Ricciardo of about a second or so. So there must have been somebody getting a little tangled up there in the first couple of turns. However, we are still 22 cars running, so we have no retirements so far. And the plan here is to see if we can open up a gap down to Rosberg or whoever is in the next couple of positions there, and basically go into lean mode rather quickly, because the AI seemingly, or at least that's how I perceive it anyway, judging by their pace on the opening stint, have a tendency to go into fuel conservation mode rather quickly, and we would like to sort of mirror that so we don't end up running out of fuel later in the race if we might need a couple of laps where we go into rich mode to get some extra pace. And coming out here on the back straight, the situation is this, that Rosberg and we have sort of pulled away from the rest of the pack, opening up a gap of about 2 seconds down to Ricciardo, who's in third. And I'm not sure whether or not Ricciardo is actually holding up somebody, or Rosberg and we just have the better pace at the moment. At any rate, the status after lap 1 is that we are in first position. Rosberg is in second, Ricciardo is third, about 2.5 seconds down, and Hamilton is fourth. And jumping ahead to lap 5 here, as you can see, we have opened up a bit of a gap down to Rosberg. However, Hamilton has now overtaken Ricciardo and has pulled away from him by about 6 seconds. And just as I say that, Vettel puts in the fastest lap of the race so far. So I'm not really sure why Ricciardo isn't lapping as quick as Hamilton is. because seemingly his car should be able to match the current speed of the Mercs. And as you can see there right now, Hamilton has overtaken Rosberg and is in second position at the moment. And this should pose an interesting problem for us, because jumping to the next lap, as you can see, Rosberg is now up into second position again and Hamilton is in third. One of the scenarios that we have seen in the past is that the two Mercs are so equal that they end up almost sort of helping each other out on the long DRS straights here. And because they're so close to each other, one is seemingly almost within DRS range of the other one. And as they overtake each other back and forth, it becomes infuriating to watch if you're a couple of seconds behind and are trying to catch them, or a couple of seconds ahead and are trying to build a gap. However, here on lap 8, we have managed to build a sort of comfortable gap down to Rosberg of almost 3 seconds. And you also have to remember that we are on the prime tire for the first stint here. And as we could see from the start there, Rosberg at least is on the option tire. I'm not sure what Hamilton is running, but I would expect them to run the same pit strategy. So if both Mercs are on the option tire and we are still pulling away from them on the prime tire here in the first stint, that definitely bodes well for the rest of the race. And also, I should just mention that we are running in mix 1 at the moment and are only cranking up the engine here for the back straight and the finishing straight. And also, as you can see in the standings there, Vettel has now emerged into third position and appears to be lapping with some confidence at the moment. So Hamilton is down below third. I'm not sure where he is right now. Would expect him to be in fourth place, but Vettel is definitely showing the better pace right now. As you can see there, Vettel is definitely very close to Rosberg, putting him under pressure right now. And it's tough to make out, but it does appear that somebody is overtaking someone else down in the hairpin there. And indeed, Vettel is into second position now. And jumping ahead here to lap 15, Vettel has all but closed the gap to us, so he is definitely going fast right now. And also, Hamilton has passed Rosberg behind us and is about 3 seconds down. And considering Vettel's current pace, I would expect that he has started on the option tire, and if our own suggested pit strategy is any indication here, I would expect that cars who started on the option tire here for the first stint would be going into pit in about 2 or 3 laps or so. So all we have to do right now is to keep Vettel behind us, and that can prove difficult in itself. And all we have to do really is just basically park the bus here for the next 2 or 3 laps, and hopefully Vettel is going into pit and come out on the prime tire and be a little slower for his middle stint. Jumping to lap 17, we still have Vettel clawing at us from behind here. We just miss our braking point here, coming into the slow left-hander up to the short DRS straight. We run very wide indeed, and Vettel almost has the line to take us down the inside there, but he has to back out of it, and we just get away with a scare. Just running a little wide again here, coming out on the back straight. We're not doing ourselves any favors right now, and I guess we're just lucky right now that Vettel hasn't been aggressive enough to take advantage. And as you can see there, just as we talked about before, Vettel is now pulling into the pits, and it appears that so is Hamilton, as we now have Rosberg up into second position. Skipping right ahead 1 lap here, I would expect that Rosberg is going into pit as well, as we are going to be staying out for a few extra laps here, seeing as we're on the prime tire. And jumping to lap 25 here, we are going in for our first stop of the race. We have Rosberg about 16 seconds behind us, Hamilton immediately behind him. Vettel has sort of disappeared off the map there, as Hulkenberg is now into 4th place, 14 seconds behind Hamilton. So I'm not sure what happened to Vettel there, but we have lost 2 cars, and I'm not sure if he's one of them. And as we are rejoining the track in 3rd position, you can see that both Mercs have just passed us. They are just rounding turn 1 down there, and we are about 2 or 3 seconds down on them. However, I am hoping that they are out on the prime tire for this middle stint, giving us the benefit of the option tire, and hopefully we should be able to catch him if that is the case. And as you can see here on lap 26, they are not far ahead of us. They have a gap. We have a gap up to Hamilton of about 5 seconds at the moment. So while we may not be catching them right now, they are not running away from us either. Jumping ahead here to lap 31, it does appear that our option tires are giving us the advantage right now, as we have closed the gap to about 3 seconds up to Hamilton. And I'm just hoping we can claw off the additional 2 seconds and just get within DRS range, making life much easier for us. Jumping to lap 33, the gap remains fairly constant here. We have taken off a couple of tenths, but are still around 3 seconds behind Hamilton here. And this is getting rather infuriating to watch, because this is what I spoke of earlier. One of the Mercs always seemingly having DRS, making it very difficult to actually catch them. They are shifting positions back and forth, sort of towing each other. And this is just so frustrating to sit and watch. And as we jump ahead to lap 36 here, you can see that Rosberg is now out in front. We are in P2 and Hamilton is down in P3. And this is due to the fact that Hamilton has come in to take his second pit stop, and as such was doing his second stint on the option tire. That means that during this middle stint, we were actually out racing the Mercs on the same tire, and that's a definite positive. Just taken off the cone there, that could have cost us a front wing there. As you can see, we're actually catching up to some back markers right now, and it'd be oh so sweet to just have one of those back markers catching the Mercs in a corner instead of always ending up with them on the straights, because I have watched them overtake like 3 or 4 back markers so far, and it always ends up being on one of the straights. Just park it on the apex in front of them, will you? Jeez. At lap 36, as you can see, Rosberg is now coming into pit, handing us a temporary first position of the race, as we are 19 seconds ahead of Hamilton, who is out on the prime tire for his last stint. And on lap 41, we are coming in for our second and last stop of the race. We will be changing to another set of options. We'll be doing 16 laps on those, which should be more than enough for us to do a really good fast stint without having to think too much about tire wear. So what becomes interesting now is how far ahead are the two Mercs. I have no doubt that we'll be coming out behind them, but the question is, how far ahead are they? And as you can see right there, this is basically deja vu from our first stop, as both Rosberg and Hamilton are about 4 seconds ahead of us right now. However, both Mercs are on the prime tire for this final stint. We are on the option tire. Plus, our tires have to be fresher than theirs. So this should give us an advantage, and hopefully we'll be able just to close that gap here over the next 10 laps. We're talking 2 seconds behind Hamilton at the moment, and although Rosberg just did the fastest lap, we are very competitive in terms of pace right now. That is, if we can stop losing the back end like we just did there. And by the looks of things here, there's another back marker coming up, and in this case it's Kimi Räikkönen. So I guess we're lapping a Ferrari now, which is definitely a sign that we're doing well here, but it's just not going to help us much unless Hamilton and Rosberg encounters one of these guys in a turn rather than the straights all the time. And once again here, Hamilton on this short DRS straight has the full benefit of the open rear wing and can just pull away from us there. We cannot match that acceleration, that goes without saying. And on lap 49, it's the exact same scenario here. We close the gap to within about 2 seconds over the rest of the track, but as soon as these guys hit a DRS straight, they just seemingly just pull away from us there. And I'm not really sure how this is going to work, because logically the front car should still be matching our pace, but at any rate, as you can see, they're still 2.5 seconds down, and it has been like this for about 8 laps. Once again here, the gap has been closed to within 2 seconds, and we are currently going with everything we've got just to close this gap up to Hamilton, giving us some DRS at some point. And we're going to be coming up on another back marker here shortly, as you can see on the mini track there. And as usual, I feel inclined to say we encounter a back marker on a straight, and just how annoying is this going to get? And he pulls into the racing line as well. He's probably going to park it on the apex too, holding us back. Well, sure he didn't, but we still managed to just lose maybe a little bit of acceleration there, a couple of tenths of a second, and everything at this point counts. Jumping ahead here to lap 54, only 3 laps remaining now to make a difference. As you can see, Hamilton has now overtaken Rosberg there, and the gap just seems to be constant here within 2 or 3 seconds, all depending on what lap we're on, really. Some laps will be closing the gap, and other laps will be losing a little bit of time and encountering back markers and whatnot, and we just can't seem to break that deadlock. Jumping to lap 56, the gap is now down to 1.5 seconds here. As you can see, Hamilton has pulled away from Rosberg, meaning 2 things. 1, Rosberg is unable to match his pace for some reason, and number 2, he is not going to have DRS this time coming up on the straights. So, if we are going to catch Rosberg, now is the time. However, he still has the same engine we do and the straight line acceleration, but I am wondering, as you can see how he's cornering there, he's not cornering particularly fast. I'm wondering if his tires are starting to go and is starting to feel the effects of a long stint on the prime tires here. We're on newer tires and we're on the faster tire. This should be possible. Coming up here on the finishing straight, I am just waiting for that green light to turn on. Come on now. 1.2 seconds. Are you freaking kidding me? This is just not right, guys. Oh, man. Trying to break as late as humanly possible here. Maybe there's going to be a chance here on the straight. Just cutting the corner here, but looks like it's going to end up costing us more than we won by it. Oh, my God. This is getting frustrating. And just as we run wide down here in the corner, losing more time, we start getting used to the thought of only finishing 3rd once again. In the second to last corner, this happens. And Rosberg's tires must have been completely gone. He must have been pushing so hard to keep us behind him. And God, Nico, man, I know how you feel. Lord knows I've been there. But this 2nd place belongs to us, and we're going to grab it with a big old smile on our faces. So Hamilton takes yet another win here. We finish in 2nd, and by the looks of it, Rosberg is going to be rounding off the podium in 3rd. And all in all, guys, I have to say, starting 2nd on the grid there and finishing 2nd, I kind of felt like this was probably the most deserved points I ever scored here, because this was not a case of where we had the lead at some point and ended up spending like 5 or 6 laps just parking the bus, blocking whoever was behind us. This was a race where we sort of had free air around us for most of the race there, barring the couple of laps there where, beg your pardon, where Sebastian Vettel was putting us under pressure there. And we end up finishing about 5 seconds down on Hamilton and really matching their Mercedes cars turn for turn and lap for lap. I really felt good about this 2nd place. So anyway, Drivers' Championship, we are up to 2nd place now behind Lewis Hamilton, who has taken a so far pretty comfortable lead there in the championship race there. He's about 30 points ahead of us. And Nico Rosberg, that must be very disappointing for the world champion, is down in 5th place so far. So maybe the main challenge to Hamilton is going to come from someone else this year. Maybe Sebastian Vettel is back on form, and Ricciardo is not far behind either. At any rate, guys, if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to leave a like, a subscribe even, and I'll be back soon enough. Bye-bye.